Alright, I'm going to put this mill back together now, as such, and then put this casing back on, which will help, which will be pressing onto the top stone, lowering it closer and closer to the bottom stone. And that's actually the only adjustment you can do with this mill. Now I can't turn it anymore because the stones are touching. That's the only adjustment you can do with this mill. The speed of the rotation of the stones is constant. The grain feed rate is constant because basically what you put in here is falling through into the stones with gravity. The way it's able to produce such fine flour is, you know, the stones are very sharp, but also they're rotating at a very high speed at around, for this model, 1300 revolutions per minute, and it's able to produce 200 grams of fine flour every minute. And then the other model, which is this is the Mockmill 200, there's the Mockmill 100, and that produces about half the rate, which I think both are plenty for home use. At our bakery, we have been using the 200 model, and at some point, I think we milled at about 20 pounds of flour with this little mill, and before it really heated up, and we had to turn it off, let it rest a little bit, and then pick it back up. So anyway, I want to show you guys this little mechanism here, so that the adjustment lever makes more sense to you. So you can see that it's in this top casing. When I put this lever back in, that's how you would put it in with the hopper on as well. So I'm screwing it in, not all the way, but you can see that it's freely moving around without moving this top casing, which is actually pressing on the top stone. So when I fully engage this, fully screw it in, and I move it, then it moves the casing, which means that it's actually lowering the top stone. And you can imagine with this thing on, the range of motion is only limited to this. From the numbers are 1 to 10, basically, about a 90-degree angle. As opposed to the 360 here when you're screwing this thing on and off with your hand. So, I'm gonna put the hopper back on and explain it from there. And when you put the hopper back on, you want to make sure that this little latch where the this lever handle goes in is in this range, so that you can put it in. I'm going to put the hopper back on. Now I'm going to screw it all the way in. So let's say I want to bring the stones as close to each other as possible. So the numbers are from 1 to 10. So you move this lever closer to 1. So I'm going to move it, move it, move it. Well, I can't move it anymore. So the stones are touching there. And I want to make the stones further apart so I can produce something really coarse. So I go this way in the opposite direction towards 10. So I want it even coarser. Well, I can't move this anymore. So what you do is you loosen this lever a little bit so that it gets disengaged. If you recall, when I had the hopper off, it gets disengaged. That little mechanism gets disengaged from the plastic casing, so you can move it easily this way, screw it back in, and you continue your motion, and so forth. And you can do it in the opposite direction. So I want to bring the stones closer together, so I move this way. They're still not touching. I can tell because I was able to move it easily. I loosen this up, bring it here, tighten it, and then move it, and now I can't move it anymore. I know that the stones are touching. So I'm going to bring this back a little bit, so I know that the stones are not going to be touching when I turn this on. It's plugged in. I'm going to turn it on, and we're going to mill some flour. Alright, let's do it. Here's some soft white wheat. And I'm going to bring the stones close to each other. So my benchmark, there are these numbers from 1 to 10 here. They're all relative. So my benchmark is when the stones are touching each other. And that happens when you hear the sound. Really high-pitched sound. You can tell that they are touching. I'm going to move it back just slightly. Yep, like so. They're barely touching. I'm going to drop in some soft white. And when you're done milling, if the stones are very close to each other, you can just move it back a little bit, move the lever back a little bit so that you know for sure that they're not going to be touching next time you turn it on. So you can see really nice fine flour. That's the beauty of it too. You can smell the aromas coming off because you are milling basically the whole grain, the bran, the germ, which has all the flavorful aromatic oils, and the endosperm as well, full of starches and proteins. That's the neat thing about it. And now here I have some rye. We can mill some rye. Actually, let's do some rye chops like we do at the bakery for our full corn brat. Stones are on. I'm gonna move it back. Move it back even further. Rye chops. And then move it back some more. I know by experience that you need to do it a couple of times so that you can get coarse enough grains or chops. Maybe a little more. There you go. You can see the chops. And there's some fine flour in there too, which is fine. There's some remnants of the soft white that I was milling, but you get the idea. Basically, you can just play around with this. There are people who actually sift this out, so you can get rid of the fine stuff and end up with just the very cracked berries, the chopped berries. Basically, you can do that too, and also you can produce. You can go finer than this, and you can produce a beautiful cream of wheat-like flour that our managing partner, Amy Emberling, was actually showing you guys how to make in a recent beautiful video post using soft white wheat. We call it the cream of the crop, and we sell that at the bakery too. But this is a great meal to be able to do that. And actually, the last 2 days, my family and I have been eating that cream of the crop style whole wheat porridge in the mornings, which is very tasty. I think that's all I have for now. One other question that I can think of you guys asking is, how do you clean this mill? The easiest way to do is just to drop in some rice, which is a very, very hard grain, and it's very neutral in terms of flavor, and just run it through a few times. Maybe start out coarser and then go finer, and it should clean it. When you're cleaning can make sense when you want to clean it out between milling different grains, or if you don't mind it, you don't have to do that. But the other case where I can see you want to clean the stones is when you get what we call pasting of the stones, when you have some really moist grains or really soft grains that you're milling, and the flour is getting really warm, and it's what we call sweating, basically releasing a lot of moisture. It can the flour, really fine flour, and moisture can interact on the stones and form this film like a paste on the stones, and when you're dropping the grain, you see that it's not milling anymore, and the grain is almost coming out whole or maybe partially chopped. So in that case, dropping in some rice and cleaning it with that would help. The manual also says that you can open up the stones and make that film using a blunt knife or something like that. Create a little chip in there so that when you do drop in the rice, it can get in through that chipped area into the paste and break it up much easier. So that's all I have for now. Thank you guys for watching. If you do have any questions, please send them our way. We'll be happy to answer them. All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you.